Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the San Diego 1904 FC and your Stumptown AC. Please welcome the officials for this evening's match. The referee is Alexander Zalaskov. The assistant referees are Matthew Otten and Hisham El-Bariki, and the fourth official is Edward. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you would please rise and remove your hats as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem.
It's the penultimate match day of the NISA spring season here in Matthews, North Carolina, and the Sportsplex at Matthews is filling up for tonight's matchup between Stumptown AC and the visiting San Diego 1904 FC. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Goldfarb, thrilled to present another edition of NISA Soccer on the 11 Sports Network as Stumptown AC looks to build on an impressive run of form against a struggling 1904 FC side in desperate need of a win. Stumptown enters this one unbeaten in their last 4 matches, and they gear up for their 3rd match in the span of a week. And this week's gone pretty decently for them. A 1-1 draw against third-place Cal United Strikers last Tuesday showed a bit of resilience. They were down 1-0, and then Giovanni Ramos-Godoy scored the equalizer in the 53rd minute, and then they went on the road and beat Chattanooga FC 1-0. Luis Garcia Sosa scored the goal, and Stumptown leaned on its back line to secure that victory. And a big factor in Stumptown's success this year, they sit in 4th, is their defense. They've just allowed only 3 goals in 6 matches, and they've only allowed 1 goal in their last 4. So a very impressive stretch for Stumptown, and a big reason for that as well has been Giovanni Bejarano Navia, the holding midfielder. Since Rod Underwood moved him from the center of defense to more of a holding mid role, they've excelled at breaking the press and handling pressure. And they're facing a San Diego 1904 FC side that's been struggling of late. They're winless in their last 3. They're fresh off of a 4-1 thrashing at home on Wednesday to previously winless New Amsterdam FC, and honestly, their back line is what they're going to need to clean up to get a result here today. 8 goals allowed in their last 3 matches. They've been outscored 8-3 over that span, and they're without 2 of their regular starting defenders tonight who are listed as unavailable. Player to watch, Mateo Zabala, the goalkeeper, making his 2nd start of the year. Over that 3-match winless run, he's the only goalkeeper to get a point. It was a 1-1 draw against Chattanooga FC on June 12th. And he gets another crack at it, the goalkeeper from Medellin, Colombia. We're just about ready to get things underway here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Sam Goldfarb on the 11 Sports Network, bringing you the lineup. Stumptown rocking with a usual 3 at the back. Lineup is unchanged to what they went with against Chattanooga on Saturday. Kevin Gonzalez in goal. The back 3, Dylan Greenberg, Jacob Krim, and Robert Hines. The wingbacks, Frankie Martinez and Reese Williams. Giovanni Bejarano Navia holding mid. The attacking mids, Travis Ward, Alex McGrath, and Luis Garcia Sosa. And up front, Ramos Godoy making up the 11. Stumptown rocking in the navy blue kit. San Diego 1904 FC in the white. A bit of a mix-up from what you're usually used to seeing at home, but that's what we're going with. Ramos Godoy here in the center, looking set to get things underway. Stumptown looking for their second consecutive victory in their third and 4 matches. And we are underway here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Stumptown gets things going in their away navy strip. Meanwhile, San Diego 1904 in the white. They look long for Ramos Godoy, who makes his third consecutive start, and ultimately going to be pulled away by San Diego through Ramos. That ball almost lost out of play. Now booted to the wing, and San Diego going to look to play from the back. The big key for them tonight, can they be solid defensively? They've got a 3 at the back. Mateo Zabala in goal. Dallin Cutler, James Hone Blanchette, and Jomar Munoz are the back 3. Romario Liborio and Romario Lomeli are the wingbacks. And then Ozzy Ramos and Reese Gordy, the holding mids. Faisal Amu Baslat is the attacking mid, and the top 2 are Lorenzo Ramirez Jr. and Cesar Romero Jr. Romero leads this team with 3 goals, had a brace in the Legends Cup victory over Maryland Bobcats FC. Martinez looks down the line, going to be pulled away comfortably by Liborio. And now Zabala with his first touch of the game, cleared only as far as Greenberg. And we'll see another interesting clash of styles here tonight. Of course, Stumptown, we've talked about their style. They like to build up a bit slower, but then they'll hit you when you least expect it. They're very, very controlled in possession. They are at their best when they have space to move the ball, so you ultimately can't give them space, as that ball played a bit errantly but corralled comfortably by San Diego's defense. Meanwhile, for San Diego, they like to break quickly. If you watch that Cal United Strikers game, it was a 3-1 defeat on June 9th, but it was very lively, end-to-end action. They scored off a counterattack. They really like to push and pressure you. Stumptown looking calm in possession here early. Williams, the outside of that back 3 at the moment. Looks like they've allowed Greenberg to get a little further forward, as well as Bejarano Navia. And looking long for Ward, he assisted Garcia Sosa's winner against Chattanooga and drew the penalty that led to the equalizer last Tuesday. And now trying to play out of trouble is Gordy. Williams dueling with Ramirez and wins out. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Stumptown AC and NISA Soccer here on the 11 Sports Network. Stumptown taking on 1904 FC out of San Diego. Stumptown currently in 4th. They've got 3 wins, 2 draws, and a loss to their name. San Diego 1904 FC opened the win this season with 2 wins in their first 3. They haven't won since. 2 wins, 1 draw, and 3 defeats has left them sat in 7th as they approach their final 2 matchups. Krim plays it over to Greenberg, who comes to collect. Greenberg making his 2nd consecutive start after hardly playing this year before that point. And pretty decorated, actually. An all-AAC second-team player with the University of Connecticut. Played left back and center back in his college days. And put in an impressive enough shift against Chattanooga to merit another start here this evening. Hines plays it back to Krim. Stumptown not getting pressed at all by San Diego 1904 FC, and that's a decision that head coach Scott Morrison is going to have to weigh. San Diego has been leaky at the back of late. There's no getting around it, and if you press, that leaves you exposed. However, Stumptown struggles most when you press, so it's really just a chess match if you're Coach Morrison. When do you send bodies? When don't you? As trying to come away is Liborio there. And intercepted by Garcia Sosa. The goal scorer against Chattanooga dinks it over to Ward. Ward has a cut at it. Doesn't square it on target, and it's out for a goal kick. 4.5 minutes gone here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Still 0-0. Pretty relaxed proceedings thus far. Neither side really threatening too much, both trying to establish a foothold, and both content to give space, as that goal kick taken a bit too quickly for head referee Alexander Zayalazkov. Slaking. And Cutler squared back over to Gordy, who's deputizing in more of a defensive role today. We're used to seeing him in holding mid. And now Ramirez looking down the line here for Lomeli. San Diego getting their first extended bit of possession. Gordy scored the most recent goal outside of home Blanchette's goal against New Amsterdam. It was the 1-1 draw against Chattanooga on the 12th. And intercepted by Greenberg. Excellent defensive shift from holding midfield. McGrath looking through for Ward, and he's offside. The fourth official's flag is up on the far side. But another excellent bit of quick build-up. You saw Greenberg on the interception, squared it brilliantly to McGrath, who played a nice ball across for Ward. Just Ward and McGrath couldn't quite get on the same wavelength there as they have been all year, really. They've been really locked in together. And Cutler going to look down the line. And Hines gets his head in the way. Now Greenberg. Stumptown really bossing possession here to open tonight's proceedings. Williams. And McGrath. Stumptown enters this one, as we mentioned, unbeaten in their last 4. They have 2 games remaining tonight and then home against Michigan Stars FC on the 11 Sports Network on Friday to finish off their campaign. They mathematically cannot qualify for the playoffs as Gordy gets in a tussle with Greenberg and loses out according to the referee. But Stumptown coming into that match against Cal United Strikers, they had only played 4 games and had a major shot at potentially clinching a playoff berth. But ultimately, LA Force wins their last game. They drop points against Cal United Strikers in a hard-fought match. And now it's just about finishing as high as you possibly can. Technically, they could finish second, although Detroit City would have to lose their last game. And if you know anything about Detroit City, you know them and losing don't go together in the same sentence. But they realistically could finish third. Ultimately, they have more games in hand over Cal United Strikers, who have finished things off, and they're only a couple points behind. As Martinez looks forward for Ward, who's been the star man of late for Stumptown. Navigates his way through traffic admirably. And an excellent foot in the way there. But Williams gets a dig at it. Looking into the middle. Ramos Godoy squares it for McGrath. And it's 1-0 Stumptown. A deserved goal after a brilliant opening 8 minutes. And Ramos Godoy, the unselfish layoff. Alex McGrath grabs his 3rd of the year. And if we just look at the replay here, it looks like Ward lost out. The great interception from Greenberg. And Williams with a terrific cross. It looked like a bit of a miscommunication there at the back. And squared it to a wide-open McGrath for the opener. Ultimately, you have to feel for what looks to be Munoz there. Just couldn't quite get a grip on that ball in. And finished off comfortably by McGrath. So Stumptown grabs the opener. And we talked about how their attack was blossoming of late. They've scored a goal in each of their last two matches, and they also scored against New Amsterdam. But they haven't cracked the 2-goal mark since the Legends Cup. And part of that has been they've been building up really impressively and creating a lot of chances, but they just didn't have the clinical bodies to finish it. Ramos Godoy's injection into this side has changed that. He obviously scored the penalty. He that time lays it off to a wide-open McGrath. He's been a revelation since making his mark in this side just a few games ago. That ball launched into the middle. 1904 FC's best opportunity of the match here. As Ramirez is bundled over. Looked like for a moment I thought the referee showed a yellow, but perhaps not. And Ramos standing over it, as well as a couple of his teammates. So 1-0 Stumptown, but a tricky situation here. Perhaps the best opportunity of the match for the visiting side. Looks like Romero and Ramos standing over it. looking to test Kevin Gonzalez here, who's been in magnificent form of late. It's hit by Romero, and off the bar and in, and that's the equalizer. What a spectacular finish there from 1904 FC on the free kick, and not much Gonzalez could do about that one. I believe it was Cesar Romero Jr. A really excellent hit to the near post off the crossbar and bar down finish, and we're level at 1 here inside the first 15 minutes of play. It could have potentially been Lamelli as well, although I believe Romero is the one who gets the finishing touches on it.
1904 goal scored by number 19, Cesar Romero Jr. In the 11th minute, your score is tied. Stumptown 1, 1904 1.
So level at 1 apiece, an eventful opening 10 minutes and change here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. The goal, of course, initially scored by Alex McGrath, and the instant reply from Cesar Romero Jr. on a free kick, a brilliant one that goes bar down and in. Stumptown still has not conceded from open play in NISA play this season, but conceding from another set piece, and we're level at 1 apiece, just the 4th goal anyone has put past Kevin Gonzalez all year, excluding Legends Cup play. And to the best of my knowledge, that is Cesar Romero Jr. He's originally listed at number 19, but wearing 12 tonight, the man in the white strip up top beside Ramirez. And Stumptown looking to fire back here in this open match. Cutler drills it over to Bejarano Navia. Rides the challenge from Romero well. And now Hines looking for Ramos Godoy, who had the assist on the opener. Tried to square that one. Couldn't tell if he was in two minds between passing and shooting. Ultimately out for a goal kick. If you're just tuning in here on the 11 Sports Network, you've missed a heck of an opening 15 minutes. Stumptown scoring in the 9th through Alex McGrath, his 3rd of the year, the leading goal scorer for the Stumps. And it was a brilliant assist from Ramos Godoy, who capitalized on the Liborio botched clearance. And Liborio under some more pressure here from Ward. And it's intercepted. Travis Ward! It's 2-1 Stumptown! Just as we're recapping the opening 2 goals, another mistake from Felipe Liborio Jr. at the back. And Stumptown reclaims the lead once again. And you see here, just mishandling it, gets surrounded by Ramos Godoy and Ward slots that one into the top corner. 2-1, home side. Team in Navy, Stumptown with the 1-goal advantage. And it's fresh off of that fantastic free kick from Cesar Romero Jr. That was his 4th goal of the year and first since May 29th. Ward, meanwhile, grabbing his 2nd goal of the year and his 1st since the season opener against Maryland Bobcats FC. So 2-1 Stumptown. Back and forth we go here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. The opening 15 minutes have been an absolute doozy. Picked up there by Gordy. San Diego looking to respond once again and chipping it down the line for Lamelli. Martinez does well to track over and knock it out of play, but a corner coming for 1904 FC. And Stumptown has had the bulk of possession. They've really largely dominated this match, but obviously after the first goal, San Diego comes down, gets a big opportunity on the free kick, and it was a brilliant finish from Romero. And now again, with a threatening chance here from the corner. Ozzy Ramos looking to whip it in on his left, the in-swinger. What can they conjure here? It's near post and collected by Gonzalez without much trouble. So set piece number 2 goes Stumptown's way, at least defensively. And that clearance, maybe not hit to the best of Gonzalez's abilities and picked up by Gordy. Now out wide to Munaf. Gonzalez claims well. Doesn't look too shaken up by the goal, which is good to see. Gonzalez, a very poised and comfortable keeper, has great instincts. He knows when to claim. He knows when to stay on his line and save. And he's very aggressive with his decision-making. He makes a decision and he goes with it. He's not indecisive by any means. And really on that free kick, there's not much he could have done. He had to get all the way over to his right, and it went in, cannoned off the crossbar. But managing to handle a bit of trouble there after the opener. So 2-1 Stumptown here in the 16th minute. If you're just tuning in, I feel bad for you because it's been a terrific first 15. Stumptown scoring the opener through McGrath, and then a phenomenal free kick from Romero. They followed up with a huge mistake from Liborio that Travis Ward is all over. And so Ward and McGrath, two of the star men going forward for Stumptown AC this season, have powered them into an early 2-1 advantage. And in the open, we talked about, as we said, it's a blossoming attack. It's an attack that hasn't quite been reflected on the scoreboard yet, but they're scoring. This is different. This is 2 goals in the first 15. It's the first time they've scored 2 since the season opener against Maryland Bobcats FC. That ball drilled down the line for Lamelli. He slithers in on his right. Now sprayed over to Romero. Or Ramos, excuse me. And now Gordy. Gordy from Scotland, the youngster, making his 4th consecutive start after not appearing at all before these 4 matches. And he's played well, actually scored the opener against Chattanooga FC in that 1-1 draw on June 12th. The last point that 1904 FC has collected here in NISA spring play. And now Ramirez, the former Tijuana U20 player. It's cleared out of play, and Munaf will claim. We mentioned Reese Gordy. Reese Alexander Gordy, the 5'11 midfielder. He's just 19 years of age. Went to San Diego. He was a freshman this year and played in the spring campaign, then decided he wanted to give professional soccer a try. Signed with this 1904 FC side later in the spring and made his debut just a few matches ago and has been a fixture in the starting lineup ever since. Ramos looking for Lomelli down the right flank. And a quick tap from Munaf, who's still with it. Krim will clear without too much trouble. Gordy and Lomelli have been very involved here early, as well as obviously Romero, the goal scorer. We have not seen as much from Faisal Al-Mubaslat, a guy who played a lot at UNC Greensboro, his father on the Jordanian national team in spurts in the 80s. And you'd figure he would be more involved in the build-up here tonight, but they just haven't been able to get him on the ball enough here in the early stages. Approaching the 20-minute mark, Stumptown still leading 2-1, and dare I say the match potentially cooling off a little bit, all things considered, the way we opened, of course, 3 goals in the opening 15 minutes. And looking to change that here is Al-Mubaslat. He is bundled over by Hines, and a free kick on its way about 35 yards from goal. Stumptown leading 2-1 here on the 11 Sports Network in their away Navy strip tonight, playing a San Diego 1904 FC side in white. Looks like Ozzy Ramos, the holding midfielder, will stand over this one for 1904 FC, excuse me. And we saw the first goal come from a set piece, albeit far closer just outside the area. But Stumptown has conceded a goal from this range against the LA Force, a very similar set piece situation. Ramos drills it in, and looking for a man in the area, ultimately headed to Gonzalez without much trouble. A lot of white shirts in the mix, but none able to get a square connection to it. And now you see potentially a bit more pressing from 1904 FC. They're recognizing that they're down a goal, and they need to force Stumptown into some mistakes because they've been calmly stroking it around without that pressure. But Stumptown breaking it far more comfortably than they have earlier in the year. Part of that is the use of Bejarano Navia as a holding midfielder to connect the lines. He's also very good on ball, very tough. A big piece for this Stumptown side, and one of the few carryovers from Stumptown Athletic. Ball knocked out of play off Williams, and a throw coming for Lamelli. So it is 3 at the back for 1904 FC, but perhaps not the 3 we expected. Dallin Cutler, that was a given. Home Blanchette as an outside back. But also, we have Liborio, Felipe Liborio Jr. at the center of that. And perhaps head coach Morrison won't be too thrilled with the shift that's been provided just because of the one clearance that resulted in McGrath's goal that was scuffed, and then, of course, he was dispossessed on Ward's goal. It's been a shaky evening, but he'll be hoping to recover. He looks more confident on the ball now, and drilling it over to Almu Baslat, just missing a bit high. So a throw coming for Stumptown. A very interesting backstory for this San Diego 1904 FC club as a whole. Created back in 2016, and the founders of the club, very interesting, former players Demba Ba and Aiden Hazard. Aiden Hazard, of course, still playing professionally at Real Madrid, both former Chelsea guys, as Ramos Godoy gets some space on the edge of the area, and Garcia Sosa looking down the line for Ward. Fizzing cross finds its way to Hines, doesn't trouble anyone in the area. And ultimately, it's going to be ushered over to goalkeeper Zabala with no problems there. But as we were saying, 1904 FC, founded by Aiden Hazard and Demba Ba, played together on Chelsea Football Club. The first coach ever, Alexander Gontran, was actually Demba Ba's agent. He was set with the goal of getting Demba Ba to Arsenal by his 26th birthday, got him into Chelsea by his 27th. And Demba Ba, of course, famous for scoring the infamous Steven Gerrard slip goal that effectively cost Liverpool the title back in 2014. San Diego looking to build up here and potentially level things up. As we mentioned, entering this one 3 winless. Their last win came on May 29th, a 1-0 over Michigan Stars FC. Michigan Stars team currently languishing toward the bottom of the NISA standings. And drilled wide for Lamelli. Now Gordy. And Ramirez in a tussle with Bejarano Navia and loses out. Stumptown looking to launch the other way. A low drilled ball, nervy doors for Ramos. But ultimately back to Zavala without much trouble. McGrath was roaming through on the far side. It's interesting how 1904 FC has now adjusted. You see Romero coming back more to claim in midfield as almost like a hybrid number 10. He's more of a striker. He has 4 goals now, 3 entering today. And they've pushed the likes of Junaf and Almu Baslat further forward down a goal. We talk about just them needing more pressure, but the question is, does that result in a trade-off defensively? And that's the constant storyline Morrison and company are going to be battling with. Krim. Ball cross field toward, intercepted by Lamelli. And Ramos. Slithered over to Ramirez, who comes back to collect. And Lorenzo Ramirez Jr., as we mentioned, a former Tijuana U20 player. 1904 FC has actually acquired a lot of former Mexican youth players, as in players who have played in Mexico. It's a lot of San Diego natives or a few San Diego natives, like the likes of Esquivel and Ramirez Jr., who have traveled a bit further south to try to get their football in Liga MX play, and then they find their way back to San Diego, eventually here as NISA has launched. And this ball chipped cross field over to Gordy. Holding midfielder quite involved here early. Finds its way to Ramirez. They're doing a good job pushing him out of the box, but he crosses in there. Really savvy bit of footwork, but can't trouble Gonzalez on the shot. And Stumptown, what they're doing, just forcing the likes of Ramirez and Romero deeper to claim. It's preventing any opportunities for coming on target or any major threatening chances in the box. And now Krim tries to poke that one down the line for McGrath, and it's intercepted. And Lamelli. Slow but comfortable build-up here for the visitors. And just having a bit of trouble unlocking Stumptown's back line. It's a problem many a team have faced here in spring 2021 play, as Romero knocked over here about 35 yards from goal. So Ramos and Romero once again stand over this one. Romero, of course, bagged a goal from the edge of the area on the free kick in the 11th minute to level things up. This one a bit further out. You'd expect there to be a dinked ball in, looking for a secondary header. And it looks like it's just going to be between Romero and Ramos once again, the classic free kick pairing. Ramos scans the area. It's a low ball cleared by Williams and collected by Ramos Godoy well. The ball for Ward a bit outside for his liking. San Diego 1904 FC getting things restarted here. Al-Mubazlat, who swapped wings for the time being. To Lamelli. Intercepted by Greenberg and finds Ramos Godoy. Stumptown looking to play out of trouble once again, launching another counter, looking for Luis Garcia Sosa. And he's going to knock over Munaf here at the back. Free kick coming for 1904 FC. And we talk about 1904 FC, they've had a lot of defensive struggles, sure, but we have to at least give them some credit here. They opened the year very good. 2 wins in their first 3 matches. I believe both of those wins came in the form of clean sheets, if I'm not mistaken. But since it's just been a bit problematic, and tonight they've got their injury issues of their own, it seems. Andrew Klesleski and Edwin Lara Barrios, 2 regular defenders in the side, are out tonight. They're unavailable, not even listed as substitutes. And Lara Barrios, a former Guardian top 60 youth talent. So a lot missing for 1904 FC personnel-wise, and they're just trying to deputize. Additionally, they've also moved on to Coach Scott Morrison. Alexander Gontran, the former agent, as we talked about, Demba Ba's kind of manager, and one of the men who founded this club and was its initial manager. He no longer is the head coach of this side, and they've certainly had to adjust. And 1904 FC opened the season in promising fashion, actually. Made the Legends Cup semifinals before falling 1-0 to Detroit City FC, as Ward scoops that one up in the center of the park. And they started quite promising. 2 wins in their first 3. They were in the top half of NISA standings. But since results have just been a bit difficult to come by, they've had what looks to be their own injury issues. And perhaps a victim of other teams like Stumptown improving as the season's gone on and gelling. As Bejarano Navia scoops that one up in the center of the park. In yet another tussle with Munaf, and shields him off well. Free kick taken quickly to Williams. The 30th minute here, a little over midway through the first half. Stumptown leading 1904 FC, the boys from San Diego, 2-1. Bagged the opener through Alex McGrath in the 9th minute. It was a nice dummy played by Ramos Godoy, and McGrath finished it off in the 1-on-1. Then A shocking free kick from Cesar Romero Jr. Spectacular from the edge of the area, bar down. But just a few moments later, Travis Ward putting a lot of pressure on Felipe Liborio Jr. in the heart of defense and getting a clear opportunity to square it to make it 2-1. That was a really nice ball from Martinez that finds its way to McGrath. And Garcia Sosa. Cleared only as far as Martinez, former MLS Super Draft pick a few years back from Sporting Kansas City. And he is the inaugural captain for this Stumptown AC side. Stumptown is pleased to announce its partnership with the Marco Echeverri Soccer Academy. I mentioned it at halftime of the last broadcast. Marco Echeverri getting his roots in Charlotte. The MLS and Bolivian legend. We're thrilled to have him as a part and a sponsor, his soccer academy as a sponsor of Stumptown AC. Ramirez scoops up the loose ball and looks up. Can't quite find any white shirts in favorable positions, though. And this is the ultimate problem. When you force Romero and Ramirez to come back to get the ball, you don't have a lot of options going forward, especially when the likes of Lomeli and Almubaslat are forced to deputize as wingbacks when you pin them so far back. And Lomeli trying to create something here. He's done a good job cutting inside, but just hasn't quite been able to find that avenue to shoot or thread a ball through for one of his teammates. And now Liborio past midfield over to Cutler. Now Junoff. Good ball for Liborio. Handled admirably by Williams, though. Was filled in quite well as a fullback here. Now tries to slither past Gordy, going to win a throw. And Reese Williams, a very impressive piece at left back for Stumptown. He's got such a high work rate. He's a good crosser of the ball, scored against New Amsterdam in the Legends Cup, and also gets back. That's crucial. When you play a three-back like Stumptown does, you need your wing-backs to do a little bit on both ends, and Reese Williams does more than a little bit on the defensive end. He is very quick, and he will put in that work to prevent attacks from developing on his wing. Garcia Sosa slowly building his way into this one. We've called the likes of McGrath and Ward a lot tonight. Garcia Sosa, he's been his usual, he's done his usual bit of collecting the ball and moving it on, but hasn't quite instilled that bit of magic yet, and perhaps just a victim of the successes of McGrath and Ward. He hasn't had to be at his top caliber here in the opening 35, but I'm sure as the game develops, you will see him grow more and more into this match. Now Krim. Stumptown keen to take a bit of the pace out of this one. Already having the lead, and we thought we were going to see a bit of a press from 1904 FC, but it seems like they've called that off a little bit. Ultimately, perhaps not the best approach if you're trying to catch Stumptown out, because it's going to be really hard to break them down for open play. Stumptown, as we mentioned here, still has not conceded from open play. All 4 goals allowed, including the one tonight, coming from a set piece or penalty situation. Now Gordy, one of the holding midfielders in this side tonight. Back to Ramos. Another adjustment here for 1904 FC. They pushed Ramos into the center of defense. That's where we're used to seeing him, and it looks like they've moved Liborio a bit further upfield, perhaps a bit more comfortable in attack or wingback. And Almubaslat looks backwards. Just 10 minutes remaining here in the first. If you're just tuning in, you missed a doozy of an opening 15. Since things have slowed down a bit, Stumptown in their blue leading San Diego 1904 FC 2-1. Perhaps the most eventful half of Stumptown AC's season thus far here on the 11 Sports Network. And kicking their attack in a high gear right at the right time as the season is drawing slowly to a close. Ramos, ball intercepted by Greenberg, who's been great in holding midfield tonight. And Garcia Sosa drilled for McGrath. Referee says no foul. San Diego just looking to find some openings in Stumptown's defense. Greenberg heads that one forward to Ward. Off-balance ball for Garcia Sosa, just misses the mark. And a big part of this match coming in, the question was, could Stumptown be clinical in front of goal? It was really, could both teams be clinical, but especially Stumptown. They generate so many chances, or so many half chances, with their ability to possess the ball and move it around slickly and mix up the quick and slow buildups. But generally speaking, at times this season, they've lacked a cutting edge. That's not to say that their attack has consistently lacked that. It's just been on and off in that sense. And because of that, they haven't been able to perhaps score as many goals as they would have wanted to. Only 5 goals this year coming into the match, as Williams navigates his way down the left flank. Looks like he's fouled on the near side. We hope he's all right, just a bit shaken up. But Stumptown, they generate a lot of chances. The question was, can they finish those? They had so many massive opportunities to go begging against Cal United strikers with the opportunity to claim that win. And tonight really hasn't been much of a problem. They've had 2 major chances, and they finished them both. McGrath on the 1-on-1 and Ward on the 1-on-1. And yes, they were clear-cut, and if you miss those, you're going to get stick off your teammates in the locker room. But ultimately, when you're finishing those chances off, you can't be complaining. And that's what Stumptown will be liking to see tonight. 2 quick goals and hoping to create a few more opportunities as this game tightens up. Free kick taken short. Can't quite be flicked on by Ramos Godoy. And now Ramirez carries it forward to Amu Baslat. And to 1904 FC's credit, they've been clinical in the one major opportunity they had, which was the free kick. And that's a situation where if you miss that, it's a good opportunity, but ultimately you can't fault the guy. It's a really tough look. It was a spectacular shot from Ramos to grab the then equalizer. But outside of that, 1904 FC just hasn't been able to create out of open play against this Stumptown back line, which has been so organized. As we see there, drawing the offside flag on Ramirez on the far side. In Stumptown, we talk about the fine lines of playing a 5-back. Does that compromise your attack? Finally reaching the happy medium here as spring play reaches a close. And if they can keep a lot of the key personnel on this team for the fall, I think it'll be really crucial to building this team into a NISA title contender. Of course, that's not too far-fetched to think, given that these Stumptown boys sit in 4th and have an opportunity to finish as high as 2nd. 3rd is probably the most realistic expectation if you're Coach Rod Underwood. But regardless, given you're a new club with a bunch of new pieces and little to no turnover from your Stumptown athletic days, you got to be pretty happy with what you've seen thus far. Ball played back to Gonzalez here. Approaching the closing stages of the first half. And looking down the line once again for McGrath. Early ball for Ramos Godoy, who slides onto it and can't quite connect with it. Claimed comfortably by Zabala. A really good ball from McGrath. We'll never know if Ramos Godoy was onside. The flag has to stay down until the play develops, if you're an official these days. But Ramos Godoy just couldn't quite get the connection required to double Stumptown's advantage. Loose ball, McGrath gets a boot in the way. And he and Ramos coming off a bit worse for wear after that challenge. McGrath slowly up to his feet. Looks like Ramos a bit shaken up in the ankle area, but he'll get up and walk off the pressure. So a yellow coming for Ozzy Ramos, the first in the book tonight for 1904 FC. And a free kick opportunity, the first major set piece outside of corners for Stumptown on the way. Garcia Sosa and McGrath currently camping around it, with Martinez lurking in the background. And this is a Stumptown team that, outside of penalties, hasn't generated much offensively from set pieces. Hoping to change that here. They've got the likes of Ramos, Godoy, Bejarano, Navia, and Krim causing problems in the box. Greenberg is the short option.
Ozzy Ramos of 1904.
41st minute. Garcia Sosa. High arcing ball into the box. And a bit nervy for Zabala. He's got to tip it out of play. A foul ultimately called on Krim, though. Ran the defender into Zabala. Goal kick coming. A bit anticlimactic. And Liborio looking to build from the back now. Dinked for Ramirez. Greenberg gets ahead to it. McGrath can't quite keep things in play. 41st minute here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Stumptown AC leading San Diego 1904 FC 2-1. And all of the goals coming in the first 15. If you missed it, Alex McGrath had a ball played through to him by Giovanni Ramos Godoy. He squared it one-on-one, finished it off to make it 1-0. Then a massive response from Cesar Ramos Jr. Cesar Romero Jr. on the free kick. It was drilled bar down in the 11th minute. And then just a few moments later, Travis Ward capitalizing on a mistake from Libero at the back. And finishing that off one-on-one to make it 2-1, and that's where we stand since. Not a lot of chances created either way since that moment. There was a corner that gave Gonzalez a few problems, but he ultimately claimed it. And Stumptown, on their end, probably looking to just slow things down and lock it up and then create the other way. Meanwhile, 1904 FC just trying methodically to break them down, almost overthinking some of their build-up spells. This isn't the patented, quick, rapid team we saw against Cal United Strikers, and perhaps Coach Morrison will have a chat with them at halftime about speeding things up to leave Stumptown a bit more stretched. Hines played back to Gonzalez. Looking for McGrath, who acrobatically corrals that one and surges forward in the center of the park. Over to Travis Ward, the most recent goal scorer for Stumptown. Cuts inside, now overlapped to Williams. Low cross. Liborio gets a boot in the way. And 1904 FC looking to charge down on the counter. Almu Baslat approaching Hines with pace. Looked like he was trying to find Gordy. Instead, it skips its way over to Ramirez. And now around to Lomeli. Stumptown recovering once again. They've got numbers back. Might take a bit of magic to unlock them here with the way they've been organized defensively tonight. Liborio. Played low for Gordy. The Scottish midfielder. Can't quite tee that one up enough. And it doesn't drop in time. Goal kick coming for Gonzalez as we approach the final few minutes here in the first half. Stumptown largely in control. It's been a bit of an even battle in possession, perhaps even tilting the visitors' way. But Stumptown has done more with the possession they've had. And I'm not just talking about the 2 goals. They've just looked a bit more incisive going forward. And 1904 FC will be hoping to devise a game plan to unlock them as we head toward the break. Ramos will comfortably corral that aerial ball and played backwards to Hone Blanchette. He's the last man to score for 1904 FC. He scored in the 57th minute of that 4-1 defeat to New Amsterdam on Wednesday. And Gordy. Romero. Nothing to inform there. A bit of a violent collision between Ramos and Garcia Sosa. Hines is knocked over, and they're going to call advantage back to where Garcia Sosa was knocked down. So he comes off a bit worse for wear in that challenge with Ramos, who is already on a yellow card tonight. And the medics attending to him, we certainly hope he's all right. Luis Garcia Sosa, one of the more imperative, useful, and crucial attacking pieces for this Stumptown side. He's up to his feet. Gonna roam off with the medics, but walking off on his own power, so good to see, and we will potentially see him come back in a moment. Looks to just be a little shaken up there. Beautiful evening here in Matthews, North Carolina. Temperature hovering around the 80s after it was kind of on and off storming today. Stumptown fans pleased to see the sun come out just in time for their beloved Stumps to host their penultimate home match of the season. And their next match is Friday against Michigan Stars FC, and that's going to polish off the NISA campaign after that. That ball played out of play, just 2 minutes of added time here in the first half. As Ramos looks to switch the field here to Al-Mubaslat. Former UNC Greensboro man pokes it inside for Ramirez. A potential opportunity, it's loose. Romero got clipped in the box. It looked like there was a lingering foot from Martinez. And Ramirez on the follow-up couldn't quite steer it on target. But that's the nerviest moment for Stumptown tonight. Perhaps not enough contact to blow the whistle there for a pen. But a bit of a loose possession defensively, uncharacteristically loose for Stumptown as Garcia Sosa roams his way back onto the pitch. Ramos wins yet another aerial header off a goal kick. And drilled back to Hone Blanchette. The Canadian defender looking for Ramirez. And now McGrath tries to slither out of trouble and just does. And now Garcia Sosa flicked on to Ward. Potentially one last opportunity here for Stumptown in the first. Trickery from Ward and played to Garcia Sosa for the terrific finish. Stumptown in 5-star mode going forward tonight. 3 major chances, 3 terrific finishes. And you have to give major credit here to both Ward and Garcia Sosa. For starters, the terrific ball played on to Ward, and then this great job to cut inside. Just taps it past the defender. A really tricky through ball and a terrific low curving finish from Luis Garcia Sosa. His second goal in as many matches, and Stumptown with their third to close the first half here. So after having a bit of a nervy moment defensively, they respond very well. Play set up by McGrath. And that ball just going to be drilled by Romero. Not going to trouble Kevin Gonzalez at all, and that'll do it for the first. So we had an eventful first 15. Alex McGrath got on the score sheet, and then we saw Travis Ward grab a goal off of a mistake from Liborio at the back. The equalizer before that, though, a terrific free kick from Cesar Romero Jr. And then, of course, in stoppage time, a brilliant counter kick started by Garcia Sosa and a very tricky dinked ball from McGrath back to him for the finish. Stumptown, their 3 best attacking players with 3 goals, and it's 3-1 at the break. We'll be back after a short break here. You're watching NISA Soccer here on the 11 Sports Network. Stick with us. It's been an open one thus far. Welcome back to the National Independent Soccer Association on 11 Sports Network. Stumptown AC leading San Diego 1904 FC 3-1 at the break, and it's been a very impressive display thus far from a Stumptown side that has exploded in attack. And we're going to take a quick look at all the goals and the replays here on the 11 Sports Network. We look at the first one. Travis Ward kind of slithered his way through. Greenberg picks up the loose ball. And the cross, you're going to see a mistake from Liborio. Ramos Godoy plays it unselfishly to McGrath, who drills it into the back of the net in the 8th minute. But it was a fast response from 1904 FC. We see Romero Jr. on this free kick. There's not much you could do if you're Kevin Gonzalez here because he goes bar down. But such a phenomenal strike, and you're going to see it here in a moment. Just spectacular hit. Perhaps maybe Gonzalez started a little too far to his right. Then Stumptown responds quickly in the 13th. They're just blitzing Liborio. Ward comes away with it, slots it home comfortably for the 2-1 advantage. And then at the tail end of the half, things had slowed down a little bit. Luis Garcia Sosa played it on to Ward very well, and then Ward with a bit of trickery and magic to slide it back through to the star center midfielder, Garcia Sosa, with a terrific finish into the bottom right corner. That's where we stand here in this matchup. Stumptown leading 3-1, their most goals in a match all season, and there's still 45 minutes left to play. It's been a near flawless performance for Stumptown, despite the goals through 45 minutes. Yes, you have the free kick from Romero. It was spectacular. There's no getting around it. Bar down. It would have been hard to save, really, even if Gonzalez started a little closer to his right. Outside of that, maybe one little mistake with Martinez bundling over Romero in the box around the 42nd. They didn't call a pen. It would have been a really soft call. And a change on its way. It appears that coming off the field is going to be Faisal Al-Mubaslat for San Diego 1904 FC. Excuse me, it's actually a substitute on Stumptown's side. Al-Mubaslat's still in the lineup. But Bay Kurtz enters for Stumptown. And coming off is actually Luis Garcia Sosa, the goal scorer in the 45th minute in stoppage time. So Stumptown, the first to make a change. It's Bay Kurtz, a very creative piece. It'll be interesting to see where they deploy him. Potentially it's more of a defensive substitution to shore things up 3-1. Wouldn't blame Coach Rod Underwood. They've done their job in the first half. And it's been hard enough to break down the Stumptown side. You throw another defender on the field in midfield, it's going to be very difficult. So Garcia Sosa's afternoon or evening is over here as we start the second half, but had a pretty impressive first. He was kind of slowly building his way into it, but capped it off with an absolute bang, that terrific finish. It was maybe a little deflected, but curled from the left side of the box to the bottom right corner. Just about set to restart things. Lorenzo Ramirez plays it back to Romero, and San Diego 1904 will get things going in the second. 3-1 Stumptown have been in full control for most of the first half and have finished every major chance that has come on their plate. So Bay Kurtz going to operate as more of a center mid, holding mid hybrid, replacing Garcia Sosa. Perhaps you see McGrath and Ward surge a bit further upfield. Munaf played over to Lamelli. And now Hon Blanchette. Forcing Al-Mubaslat back is Kurtz. Very hard challenge from the former Virginia man. And going to call a foul on the near side. So quick profile on Bay Kurtz, 5'11" defender, 25-year-old. Played all over the shop in college. Started at Liberty, then moved to UVA, finished his career at UNLV, and played high school ball in Crown Point, Indiana. And he served as we say on most broadcasts, kind of a super sub for this Stumptown side. As Almu Baslat plays it back to Ramirez. San Diego potentially a bit more initiative here. Played to Hone Blanchette on the near side. Cross drill low. Krim didn't quite get the connection he wanted. And San Diego 1904 recycling only temporarily. McGrath charging upfield to Greenberg. And now Stumptown content to build around the back a bit more. Launching for Ramos Godoy. Flick on header, looking for McGrath. Liborio wins the foot race. Looking far more composed than he did in those first 15 minutes. Got to give him his credit. He's adapted well after being put under pressure. He's not an out-and-out defender, more of a midfielder slash wingback. Today, put in the center of defense as they've lost two key defenders to being unavailable tonight. Quick charge down for Almu Baslat. He's been more involved here in the opening stages of the second, but Hines comes away with it. Now Hone Blanchette to Gordy. His first touch here in the second half. Was quite involved in the build-up in the first. Ramirez has a long crack at it. Doesn't keep it down, and another goal kick for Gonzalez. A heavy dose of shots coming for 1904 strikers, but very few troubling Stumptown star keeper. And Kevin Gonzalez, the picture of consistency this season. 28-year-old, went to Holy Names Universities from Hayward, California, the Bay Area. Proud former resident of the Bay Area. That ball played long for Bay Kurtz, dealt with nervily by Zabala. McGrath operating as more of a deep-lying playmaker to open this half. And now Almu Baslat to Lamelli. Trying to ride the challenge from Ward and stops on a dime, plays over to Ramos. 1904 FC looking more composed here to open the second half. This is the best spell of build-up, or consistent build-up we've seen in a minute from them. And Krim is going to launch that one out of play. But a corner on its way for the visitors. They had a couple in the first half, but none really troubling Gonzalez. The only real effort that gave Gonzalez problems was the free kick from Ramos. And Ramos standing over this corner now, looking for the goal scorer Romero in the box. Low cross. Fizzes across the area, but doesn't find any white shirts. And now Stumptown looking to go the other way with it. No trouble there for the visitors, and coming back to claim is Almu Baslat and Hone Blanchette. As we mentioned, he is the most recent goal scorer before Romero's goal tonight. Grabbed a big-time goal, down 3-0 to make it 3-1 against New Amsterdam. As looking to build up once again is 1904 FC winning yet another corner. But Hone Blanchette has appeared off the bench in 3 of the club's last 4 matches. This is his first career start for 1904 FC. He previously played for USM Saran in France. So the Canadian goes from France to America here. Cross to the back post, finds Almu Baslat. It's stood up on the near post by Williams and played back to Munaf, who's been moved more to a center back role after playing holding midfield / center mid in the first half. Martinez clears for McGrath. A bit of trickery to skip past his defender. Ramos Godoy controls. Stumptown looking to create the other way. Ball from Williams just misses out of play. Perhaps struggling to hit the heights they hit in the first half coming out of the locker room here. And it's understandable. You grab 3 goals in the first. You go in on an ultimate high in full rhythm, and then you have to sit for 12 minutes, let your legs go cold. It's going to understandably take more time, especially when you have that 3-1 lead. Perhaps a bit more complacent than your opposition will be. 1904, just a bit more of a sense of urgency here to open up the second half. Nothing decisive just yet, but you see them moving it around quicker. You see them off ball, running a bit more aggressively. They're winning more corners, and it could make for an enticing final 40 minutes or so. Ball out of play. Baykurtz to take the throw for Stumptown. Fans slowly beginning to fill the stands here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. You can't quite see it. A lot of people packed on this near side closer to the press box. And a few packing the far side stand as well. It's a big venue for a NISA team, but they're doing a good job starting to fill it up, especially with COVID restrictions fully eased here in North Carolina. Bit of summer soccer on tap on a Tuesday night, and well attended given the circumstances as a new club and the pandemic initially wreaking havoc on attendance figures. Free kick coming for Hone Blanchette. And 1904 FC just looking to create something here. Zabala has had a rough go of it. Made his first career start just 2 games ago on June 12th. And had a pretty solid performance in a 1-1 draw with a Chattanooga team that will be playoff bound. And that ball won quickly by Ramos Godoy. A bit more nerves now in the back 3. We're used to seeing this more in the first half from 1904. And now Cutler surging past McGrath and winning a free kick in his own defensive half. Looks like a caution coming for Stumptown. Referee having a conversation with McGrath there. 55 minutes gone here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. If you're just tuning in, welcome to NISA Soccer on the 11 Sports Network. Sam Goldfarb, thrilled to be bringing you tonight's action. Stumptown leading 1904 FC out of San Diego 3-1. All of the goals coming in the first half. 3 of those goals coming in the first 15 minutes, and then Luis Garcia Sosa tacking on the 4th of tonight's match in stoppage time. Scoreline pretty much indicates the way the match has gone. There have been some bright spots for San Diego, but all things considered, Stumptown has been the more dominant side, though the second half has been far more even, in 1904 FC creating the better of the half chances so far. And 1904 FC has scored a goal in effectively every match they've played this season here in spring play. In fact, every single NISA spring match, they've scored exactly 1 goal. But it's about going beyond that, especially in a game here where you trail. And now 11 matches conceded by 1904. 11 goals conceded by 1904 in their last 4 matches. A substitute coming. Exiting is Munaf. And entering the action is the number 10, Ernesto Espinoza, perhaps seeking to inject a bit of creativity in this 1904 FC attack. And Ernesto Espinoza is the regular number 10. He likes to play behind Romero and Ramirez. He's part of this key front 3. He actually leads the side in assists with 3 and assisted Hone Blanchette's goal on Wednesday against New Amsterdam. He's also from the Tijuana U20 side before joining 1904 in their inaugural NISA campaign back in the fall of 2019. Ball played over to home Blanchette, and if you look, he's back in that roaming number 10 role, currently potentially a little out of picture, but on the left flank. Ramos finds Gordy, who's pulled up a bit after that challenge from Williams. Ernesto Espinosa, 5'7", 22-year-old, native of San Diego, playing for the hometown club. And he actually assisted both goals against Maryland Bobcats FC to Romero, actually, in the Legends Cup. And he also scored his lone goal this year in the Legends Cup opener against Michigan Stars. Free kick on its way for San Diego 1904 FC, trailing 3-1, and these are the kind of opportunities you have to capitalize on. Might be a bit too long to have a hit, but you never know, especially with the boot Romero has shown on him today. Romero and Espinoza currently sat over it, but they got to get a good ball, a good delivery that'll trouble Gonzalez. Romero, low driver, and bounces without contact, just a little wide to the left, but he could have troubled Gonzalez had it been on target. I'm not sure he would have had his far post covered there. So Romero has another bite at the apple on a set piece. That time can't quite keep it on target, but he'll be replaying the bar down finish in his dreams for the next few nights to come. It was a terrific finish. And that ball cleared over to Gordy. 1904 FC looking to apply more pressure as Al-Mubaslat charges at Hines. A bit of trickery, threads it through to Ramirez, but Greenberg recovering well. Now Cutler coming down the right flank. Another cross, that time dealt with calmly by Martinez. That one had a bit of zip to it. And 1904 FC applying the pressure once again. Good sliding challenge from Williams. And swerving inside is Lamelli to Ramos. Ramos, the lone consistent piece in the 11 for San Diego 1904 FC. He has started every single match for San Diego this campaign, including Legends Cup games. And that ball intercepted by McGrath. Kurtz looking for Alex McGrath on the right flank. He and Travis Ward have had a field day tonight. That was a very quickly played ball between Liborio and Cutler. Just had a bit too much pace on it, but almost found Bay Kurtz's feet in a threatening position. And you would have loved, if you're Kurtz, you would have loved to see the side of goal. Of course, scored in the Legends Cup, the winner against New Amsterdam in the finale. But hasn't quite seen as many tastes of goal since. Ramos gonna settle on it. San Diego dominating the lion's share of possession here in the second half, but haven't really been able to trouble Gonzalez or that Stumptown back five tonight. Williams intercepts now. Back and forth in the center of the park we go. Just a little bit of a battle. And a throw coming for San Diego. It's an interesting past for San Diego 1904 FC, not just from their founding. We talked about Hazard and Ba and Gontran being Ba's agent and really setting up this club from scratch, as Al-Mubaslat drawing a free kick after running into Bejarano Navia. Another threatening opportunity coming from a set piece for the visitors here in the 61st minute. And the clock currently looks to be a bit frozen on screen, but there's 60 minutes and 54 on the clock at the moment. Ramos, Espinoza, and Al-Mubaslat currently stand over this one. No Romero on this free kick opportunity. And you could perhaps see a whipped-in ball or somebody trying to go near post top corner. Amu Baslat to take. It's going to be an in-swinging ball. Looking for what looked to be the head of Laborio, but couldn't quite find it. And cleared only as far as Ramirez. Now Amu Baslat with another dig down the left flank. Forced wide by Bejarano Navia. And a throw-in coming for San Diego. Substitute coming, looks to be Diego Esquivel.
Substitution being made.
The 18-year-old from Chula Vista, California, enters for Faisal Amu Baslat, who is growing into the match, but ultimately couldn't make his effect. And here in the 63rd minute, Diego Esquivel gets his 7th appearance, his 5th straight appearance off the bench. Started his first 2 matches in the Legends Cup, but has largely featured as an injection of energy in midfield since. And he will prove to be, going forward, an important piece to this side. He's got a lot of talent at his fingertips. That ball played wide to Hines. A bit more pressure coming for San Diego, sensing a bit more urgency here as the clock ticks below 30 minutes remaining. But Esquivel, as we mentioned, it's his first proper season at the professional level. He was a member of San Diego last season, or last spring, I should say, but did not feature in either match before the pandemic hit. Of course, San Diego did not play the fall 2020 campaign, along with Stumptown Athletic, now Stumptown AC, obviously. They thought, they concluded that empty stands would not be viable for the club's business model, and now back in the spring and better than ever. And Malikie Carpe Jr. stands on the touchline, looking set to check in for Stumptown. He started every match up until the Chattanooga game on Saturday, and his 2nd straight substitute appearance on the way. He's going to head in for Giovanni Ramos-Godoy, who put in a very impressive shift up top. Gets an applause from the audience here in attendance at the Sportsplex in Matthews. Ramos-Godoy assisting the opener to Alex McGrath. Capitalized on the mistake from Liborio at center back and threaded a back heel through for McGrath's simple one-on-one finish. Carpe, the target man, going to get 25 minutes of action here in the second half, with Stumptown leading 3-1. So a few changes on either side. Scoreline still 3-1. San Diego applying a bit more pressure, but haven't created anything that decisive just yet. Zabala cleared only as far as Bejarano Navia, and now Hines. McGrath looks for Kurtz with a headed ball. A bit of head tennis here in the San Diego half. Kurtz looking for McGrath, instead finds Greenberg, who tees one up. It looked good at first, but the ball sliced a bit wide and high for the former UConn man. Still 3-1 and a goal kick coming as Stumptown curiously applying a bit of pressure here. Potentially sensing 1904 FC growing a bit more comfortable and looking to break that up with some early pressure. But the ball is played down the near side for Romero, looking for Esquivel on the early ball. It's dealt with by Hines, but a corner on the way for San Diego. Romero running over to take it here on the near side. 66th minute, and it's taken short to Ramos. Cross stood up by Hines, and Carpe clears it over to Home Blanchette. Recycled once again by the visitors. And now surging inside is Espinosa. Foul on Ramirez in the tussle with Kurtz. And a free kick coming for Stumptown. San Diego growing a bit more comfortable in possession. It's far more confident than we saw them in the first. But again, nothing that has troubled Gonzalez just yet. And Stumptown has kept them honest, going the other way as well. More pressure coming for Stumptown, and navigated well by Lomeli. As we mentioned, an interesting past for 1904 FC, not just from the founding. We talked about Hazard, we talked about Ba, but also just the leagues that they've had to join and bounce around to get to this point. Of course, we mentioned they were founded in 2016, but didn't compete officially until 3 years later. And that's ultimately because they tried to join the NASL in 2018, but the season got canceled. There was a bunch of instability with that league. So then they tried to join the USL. And that kind of pyramid of teams. But then they couldn't reach the agreement by the time the negotiation window expired. So ultimately, they were the founding club of NISA, the first ever club to join the National Independent Soccer Association back in the spring of 2019. And now, here in the spring of 2021, one of the 8 competitors and set to play in the fall as well. Here's Ward. Drilled back to Martinez. Stumptown moving to 4 at the back here, it seems, with Hines and what looks to be Greenberg at the moment as fullbacks. Could even be Ward. He and Greenberg are flip-flopping, but there's one holding mid. It's Bejarano Navia. He's done that regardless of the formation, whether you got 3, 4, 5, 6 if you're playing defensive at the back. And that ball launched. Gonzalez going to let that one ricochet off his knees and claim it comfortably, but Stumptown just tweaking the system a bit, potentially experimenting with some things. They're up 2 goals, time's winding down here, just 20 minutes and change. And they're experimenting with Travis Ward at right back, as an adventurous right back at that. But it can't hurt to maximize the versatility of your players. And looking long for Malikie Carpe Jr. Excellent job by Liborio to win that tussle and come away with it. Carpe, of course, a very big and muscular force at striker. He's a target man and usually wins those 50-50 battles, but couldn't quite body off the smaller Liborio. And Carpe would love to see a ball go in the back of the net this season. He's created so many good opportunities, and he's really grown into the side as the years progressed. And had one rattle off the post in the 39th last Tuesday night. He's just going to be looking for that first confidence. He did score for Atlanta SC in NISA play a few years back. And now charging in space down the right flank. The Liberian striker. Far post to Ward. And now Williams adventuring further upfield. To Greenberg in the center of midfield. And now Bejarano Navia. Stumptown once again taking the sting out of this. 1904 FC was growing in confidence. They haven't had as much of the ball lately. It's been an extended spell for the Stumps going forward. They look for Hines on the near side. Flag stays down, and an early cross finds its way to Travis Ward. He's already scored once today and almost curls that one into the top corner, just missing a bit wide. Great job by Hines to get by his defender and stay on side, and phenomenal ball over to Ward, who had plenty of space to hit it. And once again, keeping 1904 FC honest as they devote resources forward upfield. So 72nd minute, still 3-1 Stumptown. Stumptown AC here in Matthews, North Carolina, as we have a player down on the near side. Looks like it could be Hone Blanchette, just with cramp. So 72 minutes gone here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. As we mentioned, a 3-1 advantage for Stumptown. The second half been a bit more uneventful in terms of the goals. Of course, there were 4 goals scored in the first half. 3 of those coming in the first 15 minutes. It was an absolute barn burner to start, but with Stumptown leading, they've slowed the match down. They've kept them honest with chances of their own. And even though San Diego has had the bulk of the ball for a lot of time here in the second half, they have not threatened Gonzalez at all. And that's been the storyline. Stumptown so good at defending in open play. We mentioned they have not conceded in open play all year. All 4 goals, 2 coming from free kicks, 2 coming from the penalty spot. But none in NISA Spring 2021 play coming from directly from a spell of build-up. And that's something that this Stumptown back 5 can take a lot of credit for heading into the last 15 minutes and change in this match and the Michigan Stars FC match on Friday. And they may not qualify for the playoffs. It looks like LA Force has that on lock. In fact, they might win the spring trophy if all breaks right for them. Though we mentioned Detroit City and losing don't go well in the same sentence. And they have the goal difference advantage, but Stumptown could finish third realistically. Currently sat on 11 points with 2 matches here remaining, and they would be taken above Cal United with a win here. Ball played for Kurtz. Cross into the middle, deflected from McGrath. And fortunately deflecting towards Ramirez, who will clear it out of play. Ramirez doing a great job to track all the way back to his own goal to clear that one. And another decent half chance for Stumptown as that clearance is fluffed by Laborio. Corner on its way for the home side. Dylan Greenberg currently jogging over to take it. He's got a decent delivery on him. Played fullback at UConn in the American Athletic Conference. Had a few assists to his name. Had 2 his senior year. And it's a good spot for him, an in-swinger on his left foot. Here in the 75th minute, 3-1 Stumptown. Curling to the back post. A bit nervy by Zabala. It was headed in by Krim, but doesn't matter. A foul at the back post as Zabala is upended. And San Diego going to restart things. But as we mentioned, Stumptown currently on 11 points entering tonight. 3 wins, 2 draws, and a loss. With a win here, they would overtake Cal United Strikers, a team they just played Tuesday, to go on 14 points with a game left. And ultimately, a 3rd place finish in NISA would be very satisfying for this Stumptown club and its fans. I know you don't exactly get a trophy or a playoff berth, but in the first year, as we mentioned, no turnover, a team that literally has only been together for 2 months. You've got to be very pleased with what you've seen. Stumptown's final match also against Michigan Stars FC, a team languishing in the bottom of the NISA standings on 4 points. Stumptown's picked up that number in the last week, calling for the medic here briefly, and then calling him off. Stumptown thrilled to have a partnership with Ortho Carolina, the jersey sponsor for Stumptown AC this season. Their second home match, rocking the Ortho Carolina across their chest, and Stumptown thrilled to be partnered up with them. A crucial part of medical care in the state of North Carolina and the city of Charlotte and beyond. Ramos now in more of a central defensive role, back to Zabala. Carpe pressures and rushes the pass. Esquivel, heavy touch, and Kurtz. Over to McGrath, who has troubled the likes of Liborio all night. Two number 7s dueling. San Diego's wins it this time around. And now over the far side, looking down the line for Ramirez. Espinosa can't stride onto it, but a throw coming for San Diego. And another, we talked about the inconsistency, or at least recent inconsistency at the back for San Diego, being due to some personnel changes, of course, missing Andrew Klezlewski and Edwin Lara Barrios at the back, having to really mix things up coming into tonight. It was always a disadvantage against a Stumptown team really coming into its own offensively. But also in goal, we briefly alluded to this in the open. They've started 3 different keepers over the course of the last 4 matches. Misha Marson was the regular go-to, the 22-year-old out of Golden West College, but he hasn't featured since June 9th. He was hitting a bit of a rough patch, so they turned to Zabala, who actually was decently impressive in the Chattanooga draw, but then they gave Rodrigo Sarmiento a chance last match in the 4-1 defeat to New Amsterdam, and in his first start of the season was not something to write home about. He struggled a little bit, and they go back to Zabala, who himself has had a bit of a difficult night. There's not much he really could have done on any of the 3 goals. They were just perfectly slotted finishes. But that's going to be something that San Diego is going to have to battle both into the offseason and for the remainder of this campaign, who they're rocking with as their number 1 between the sticks. Ward looking to test the current goalkeeper in Zabala, and his through ball rolls harmlessly to the keeper. Approaching the 80th minute here at the Sportsplex at Matthews as Diego Esquivel looks to trouble Bay Kurtz. Stumptown AC still leading San Diego 1904 FC 3-1 here in Matthews, North Carolina. The National Independent Soccer Association on the 11 Sports Network. Early header, and for a moment it looked like it might have found its way into the back of the net, but I believe it just floated high and wide. A really good cross coming from Espinosa, and Hone Blanchette almost grabs his 2nd goal in as many matches to make the scoreline intriguing once again. Stumptown rarely switched off at the back and almost cost them. Williams will play that back to Gonzalez. And looking long for Carpe. Ultimately pulled away by Cutler. And now Liborio at midfield, back in the center of defense. Long ball intercepted by Robert Hines. Carpe offside, wouldn't have mattered. Zabala came over to take care of business anyway. But here in the 80th, Stumptown just looking to hold on to this 3-1 advantage, ceding San Diego's most decisive opportunity of the match just moments ago. A great cross from Espinosa, finding Hone Blanchette's head. He snuck up from outside center back and almost snuck it in the top corner. But ultimately just missing the target. Gonzalez will be relieved. There's a free header between Krim and Hines. A rare free header at that. And against Stumptown, that's worth a lot. It's for those opportunities, you got to bury them. And that's been the difference as well in this matchup. Stumptown just being a bit more clinical. That was what it was going to come down to for Stumptown. They're going to create a lot. Were they going to finish them? The answer is yes. For San Diego, they might not create a lot just because of how stifling Stumptown's been at the back, but will they finish the opportunities they create? And the answer to that question has unfortunately been no, at least through 80 minutes of action here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Hines going to launch it back in play over to Greenberg. He logged a full 90 against Chattanooga and looks on pace to do the same here against San Diego. He's been impressive in both outings, a holding mid that connects the lines well. This ball drilled down the line for Reese Williams, surging past his defender. Cross finds its way to Kurtz, who stabs at it but slices it a bit out wide for a throw. Looked like he was trying to steer that into the near post and just didn't quite get the connection he needed. And Bay Kurtz looking hungry for his second goal of this spring campaign. Of course, scored in Stumptown's first ever victory in the Legends Cup. It was a 49th minute winner against New Amsterdam FC. And that ball played down the line for Espinosa in space. To Romero, it's still loose. And a good save from Gonzalez. The follow-up effort ricochets back to him. More nervy doors for Stumptown defensively, but they still come up 2 goals to the good. Stumptown here at the back, a bit more concerning. Just trying to hold on to this lead. Perhaps a bit more complacent up 2, and on this team full of youngsters, it's going to take a lot to kind of instill the alertness as you've gone 80 minutes. You've played the last 30 with a 2-goal lead, but a couple big chances coming for San Diego here, and they've been fortunate that the visitors haven't been able to capitalize. And just looking to see this out as another cross comes in. This time Martinez deals with it, floats it into the amber skies, only as far as Cutler. Advantage played. San Diego keen to stroke it around still. And Esquivel. The 18-year-old back to Ramos. And slowly gaining in confidence are the visitors, but losing it out of play here on the left flank. We'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the National Independent Soccer Association on the 11 Sports Network. Stumptown AC still leading San Diego 1904 FC 3-1. All the goals coming in the first half. The second half being a bit more uneventful as far as the goals are concerned, but in terms of chances created, there have been a few intriguing ones on both sides. We talked about Stumptown. They've had a few opportunities through Ward, but a lot coming from San Diego on crosses whipped into the box. Just catching the Stumptown center back switched off for about a 15-minute spell. It's a rare sight. You won't get that much, and the reason they really haven't been able to battle back in this match is they just haven't finished those chances to the best of their ability, especially that big one-on-one a few moments ago for Espinosa that Gonzalez dealt with admirably. Approaching the final 5 minutes here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Stumptown looking to close things down here at home, which would be their first ever home victory, believe it or not. They've had a draw and a loss to open their play at the Sportsplex. Lamelli's ball deflected, and for a moment there it looks like Laborio might have a window to get ahead on it. Instead, knocked out of play. They're going to say last touch by a Stumptown player. A corner on its way here in the 85th. Don't turn your laptops, TVs, phones off just yet, folks. Potentially an opportunity for San Diego to battle back and make this a one-score affair if everything breaks right for them. Corner coming. Some chinks in the Stumptown armor. Gonzalez punches it, but Esquivel recycles. And he will dink it in. No trouble there for Gonzalez, not intimidated by the runner at the back post. And he'll sit on it, burn some clock in the process. Tonight's broadcast, Stumptown, a proud partner of the Brown Bag Catering Company. Carrying all kind of event needs in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, and doing so for the lovely Stumptown staff here tonight as well. As Kurtz comes away with it. And now sprayed out wide to Travis Ward. Still finding a way to make his presence felt here in the second. Cutting inside and surging past his defender. Ward on the chip. Can't quite keep it down. A really fantastic individual run there, though, by Alex Ward. Or Travis Ward, excuse me. 25-year-old Rowan University graduate, Division III soccer player from New Egypt, New Jersey. And Travis Ward, of course, with a goal to his name tonight, as well as an assist. Stumptown's leading point man through 6, almost 7 games of play. It's not Ward's first multi-point game. Had a goal and an assist in the season opener against Maryland Bobcats FC as well. And now for a tally of 2 goals and 4 assists in the spring 2021 campaign. Not too shabby for just 7 games of action. Ball launched for Carpe to give chase. Laborio shrugs off Stumptown striker well. And the ball for Romero. A bit deep, but he comes to collect. And we're heading into the final 2 minutes of play here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Stumptown winning that ball back, no foul, despite the appeals of Ramirez. And once again cleared out of play. Stumptown thrilled to be hosted by the Sportsplex here at Matthews. Of course, this is a venue that's hosted a lot of major sporting events in the area, ranging from high school soccer to some college soccer, and then, of course, professional. The Charlotte Independents playing here in Matthews, North Carolina for the first few years of their existence before moving, of course, to their new stadium nearby. And right now, the home of Stumptown. And it looks like they'll be looking to play here for the following few seasons. That was a phenomenal job by Greenberg to win the ball back for McGrath, who played a terrific pass into Carpe. But it looks like they called a late foul on Greenberg for that challenge. McGrath displeased. And he did score the opener. Just potentially seeking more. A bit of a frustration foul as he picks up the yellow card in the center of the park, and a free kick coming as the clock wanes here in North Carolina.
Yellow card caution issued to number 7, Alex McGrath.
McGrath's
in the 87th minute of play.
Third yellow card of the season for an attacking mid, a pretty hefty tally in 6 games. And a free kick opportunity on its way. It looks like there's a bit of a cramp for a Stumptown player down here just outside the box. Been a lot of running for these Stumptown guys tonight, especially the wingbacks, getting up and down all night, looking to patrol defensively while adding some more support going forward. And it's taking its toll on the players, as you can see here. We hope the man down is all right. That looks like it may actually be Dylan Greenberg, who did not play wingback tonight, but played defensive mid and did so quite well. He was up and down, supporting an attack, getting back to provide that shield in front of defense, and potentially dealing with some adverse effects of it. We hope he'll be all right as he heads to the sideline. Free kick coming. Espinoza stands over it, looking for Ramos. It's punched out. Romero has a follow-up to it, and it found its way over to Home Blanchette at the back post, but he couldn't. He was sitting down when it happened and couldn't quite steer it on target. So that's going to be it for Dylan Greenberg. A very impressive shift in midfield. We have to give him credit for his two-way efforts tonight. As the clock hits 90 minutes, Aguichunga will look set to check in. Currently, Stumptown playing with 10 men for the time being. And McGrath can't slide it out of trouble. Potentially a handball on Ramirez, and that'll be for the change here. Two changes on the way for Stumptown here in the waning moments of tonight's matchup. Aguichunga going to enter the fray for presumably Greenberg. The referee going to hold him up. Also, Sean Sharma making his first appearance since the Legends Cup as well.
Substitutions being made for Stumptown. Entering the game.
Sharma going to enter
for number 14.
for Frankie Martinez and play at the back. Martinez, a good shift there in the back three. Was pretty locked in and focused for the majority of the night. And we're seeing his MLS pedigree there. So Sharma will get some run here. There's 3 minutes of stoppage time on the board. And Stumptown just has to really see out the final minute and change here. Leading 3-1. And despite a slightly nervier second half than they would have wanted, it looks like they're set to take care of business here in Matthews, North Carolina, and snag their first home win of the NISA spring campaign. Trying to whip across in there is Espinoza, who hasn't quite been able to find his footing since entering the match. And launched out of play. And that is the final whistle here at the Sportsplex at Matthews. Blown up potentially a minute or so early. But Stumptown AC defeating San Diego 1904 FC 3-1. Alex McGrath grabbed the opener after a missed clearance from Liborio and a good assist from Ramos Godoy. Then Cesar Romero Jr. battled San Diego back with a tremendous bar-down free kick just 2 minutes later. But then 3 minutes after that, Travis Ward scooped up a loose ball from Liborio and slotted it home in the one-on-one against Zabala, and then polished off by Luis Garcia Sosa in stoppage time of the first half after a bit of Ward trickery led to a terrific side curvy-footed finish into the bottom right. The second half, perhaps a bit nervier for Stumptown, a few big chances for San Diego go begging, but ultimately not enough to bar Stumptown from their first home victory. So Stumptown up to third place in the NISA standings, their fourth win of the year, now 5 matches unbeaten. A terrific accomplishment for a new side. Coach Rod Underwood and his possession-based system really paying off here in the National Independent Soccer Association. Stumptown with one more match here at the Sportsplex. It'll be Friday night at 7 p.m. against the Michigan Stars FC. You'll have me and Robert Morrison on the call from the Sportsplex at Matthews on the 11 Sports Network. So, for Sam Goldfarb and the National Independent Soccer Association, this has been NISA Soccer on the 11 Sports Network. Stumptown wins 3-1, and a tremendous performance overall. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll see you Friday night. Another terrific performance from Stumptown. And this is the 11 Sports Network. Have a good night, everyone.